Let's talk about the U.S. Supreme Court. They're coming back into session October 7th, and I think it's going to be interesting because we have some pretty big changes. Now, several people have commented that they feel that I have changed my opinion on the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're kind of right, but kind of wrong. Let me explain where I'm at with the U.S. Supreme Court, and then I'll take you through a very brief series of each justice and how I feel about them. This is the current U.S. Supreme Court right here. All of our justices are set out here. Now, this is the court that is led by Chief Justice John Roberts. There are a few people on the court that I've got some serious problems with, and there are things that occurred in July, so just a few weeks ago, that have caused me to change my mind on these people. My opinion on the U.S. Supreme Court has not changed. I believe the U.S. Supreme Court is essential. It's set out in the Constitution, created through Marbury versus Madison when it comes to judicial review. Now, the number of justices on the court, Congress needs to figure that out. Could there be more? Yes. Age restrictions regarding how long they can be on the court, that's very controversial, but I think in any position where you hold power, if your mind is not completely functioning properly, that should be assessed. That's my thought on it. But as for this U.S. Supreme Court, do I think it needs to just be tossed and started over again? Absolutely not, everyone. I believe in my heart we've had the worst decision in my entire lifetime so far, which was delivered by Chief Justice John Roberts on July 1st of this summer. So, of course, my opinion of Chief Justice John Roberts is going to change after reading the worst decision decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in my lifetime. So, overall, I think the U.S. Supreme Court is important and okay. I think we need some tweaks, but I have to say, at the current moment, I do believe it's broken because of a few justices. Let me take you through each justice and tell you how I feel about them. Continuing on, talking about the U.S. Supreme Court and my thoughts and how they have changed. So let's talk about the three justices where my thoughts have completely changed. Maybe not completely, but have definitely changed since July of this year. And I'm going to be referring to Justice Alito right here. Sorry about the horns, that was for something else. Justice Thomas right here, and Chief Justice John Roberts right here. These three justices, I have really taken a moment to pause and say they should not be on the bench, in my opinion. Why? Because we have articles of impeachment that have been filed July 10th on Justice Alito and Justice Thomas for inappropriately reporting finances along with a bias that cannot be overcome. This is huge. We've got huge ethical questions set out in articles of impeachment. So, no, I do not believe they should be on the bench. Now, you may say the articles of impeachment haven't passed in the House and they haven't been convicted in the Senate, and that's true. But using my own mind and my years of experience and training, based off of the facts and evidence that I have seen, I believe these two justices should not be on the bench anymore. So my belief is that those two justices should be gone. So of course that will change my opinion of the court. And then of course we've got Chief Justice Roberts. Now, regarding Chief Justice Roberts, I've got several problems with the Chief Justice, but with regards to Thomas and Alito, the Chief Justice is in charge of his court. And if those justices say, Chief, how am I supposed to file this financially? Who do you think is telling them how to file their stuff? It's the Chief Justice. And so, in my opinion, he's got two justices with articles of impeachment. That means he's got some problems with his court that he needed to sort out. And so my thoughts and my support when it comes to the Chief Justice are he enabled two of his justices to go forward in unethical practices. So, of course, my thoughts and opinion of Chief Justice Roberts have changed. Continuing on, talking about the U.S. Supreme Court and my thoughts on them. I've just done a post talking about the two justices that have articles of impeachment on them, Thomas and Alito, as well as my thoughts on Chief Justice Roberts and it being his court, and the fact that those two impeachment article justices have been probably asking him what to do, and it was based off of what he said that they have articles of impeachment, in my opinion, based off of the facts and evidence I've seen. Let's move on to the other justices. Let's go back quick to Chief Justice John Roberts, right here in the middle. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote a decision this past summer on July 1st regarding presidential immunity, which in my opinion is the worst decision ever written by the Supreme Court in my lifetime. I believe that it is a complete misstatement and misunderstanding of the United States Constitution. When I read a case that I think is a terrible miscarriage of justice, I can't help but feel that the judge that wrote that case isn't a very good person, and that's where I'm at with Chief Justice John Roberts. But let's move on to the other justices. Continuing on, talking about the U.S. Supreme Court and my thoughts on them, let's talk about the ladies on the court. We have Justice Sotomayor, who's been there the longest, Justice Barrett, who was appointed by Mr. Trump, Justice Jackson here, who's the newest justice, and Justice Kagan. Now, we've got what has been called the three liberal justices there, with Justice Barrett being more conservative. And I have to agree, they're very liberal overall, but they have their own unique pieces to them. I have to say, with Justice Kagan, I don't always agree with her. She and I think, see the criminal world a little bit differently, and I do not always follow her logic. But I understand she's going to have a different opinion than me, and that's okay, right? I think Justice Sotomayor is a firecracker, and I think she just needs to have space to say what she needs to say. And Justice Brown Jackson, I think, is a rising star. I think her writing style is amazing. I think she has an ability to make it so everyone can understand the law easily, and I really love that. I think she is symbolic of the new generation of attorneys and judges. Justice Barrett, I think, is controversial because she has this huge religious background, coming as a professor from Notre Dame, and her own beliefs when it comes to certain ways that the law should be seen based off of her religious beliefs. I think if she can set that aside, I think she's going to be great. Honestly, I may not always agree with her, and I may think like, whoa, I wish that didn't happen. But it's not going to be because I think she has done something wrong. I think it's just going to be a fundamental difference of opinion in how she views things versus how I view things. But I think she's incredibly intelligent, professional, and I think she is an asset to the court. Again, do I agree with her ideologies? No, but I don't believe she's doing anything wrong, in my opinion. So those are the ladies on the court. Let's hit the last of the fellas. The last two fellas on the court, as we continue on talking about the U.S. Supreme Court, are Justice Gorsuch here. Sorry, that was for something else. And Justice Kavanaugh here. Now, these two guys were both appointed by Mr. Trump. Justice Gorsuch technically is sitting in someone else's seat because of how that went down, where Obama's nominee wasn't even spoken to. So he's controversial. And Justice Kavanaugh, of course, we've got those Senate hearings where we're not really sure about his ethics when it comes to how he treats women. There's a question about that. It's on the floor. It's a valid question. Now, he got in nevertheless, but it's still a valid question. And I think we should always remember that anytime a woman speaks up and says, this person has harmed me. I think we need to acknowledge there's a question there. Justice Gorsuch, when it comes to how he views the law, I agree sometimes, I disagree. He's a bit of a wild card, except for this idea he has that he's very, very important. He has an enormous ego, and he has this enormous sense of how important he believes he is. That rubs me the wrong way, and I don't like listening to him question other people because that ego gets in the way. Now, Brett Kavanaugh is just straight up, I just disagree with where he's coming from. He's extremely conservative. The way he looks at the law is not the way I look at the law. Does that mean he's a bad justice? No, it just means we've got a fundamental difference of ideologies. And again, that's okay. Now, those two justices, both appointed by Trump, and then we have that third justice, Justice Barrett. We have three justices appointed by one president in a very short period of time. And that's a little bit unusual. So there's a lot of question about that. But then again, what can we do? It's kind of what we got here. I haven't seen any facts or evidence showing any of these three justices doing anything that would rise to a level that would lead to articles of impeachment. We do have two justices with articles of impeachment. These three are not included in that. So that's my overall view, everyone. This will be my last post. But that's how I feel about the U.S. Supreme Court and the justices sitting on it right now.